I would like to have a combined hybrid session. So I prepared a few slides, but it's rather for guidance because I would like to have an open discussion with you. Um, but to be able to do so, I would like you to understand where I'm coming from and what are my motives when I have this discussion with you. So that is why I'm sharing my screen now, and then we will have the discussion. There will be a few questions. Hopefully you can see my screen. All right, cool.
Yeah.
So how to grow in UX, and this is about the evolving journey of the UX designer, which is sort of interesting because I strongly believe that we are all in this path, in this route together, and no matter the level. This is a very interesting topic when we are discussing junior, mid, or senior, because it depends where you work, what you work with, how well you know the domain, how well you know the people that you're working with. So it's a bit more complex than just junior to senior. But let us dig dive in. You can expect some sort of an intro. Who am I? What am I doing here? The journey itself, a few opportunities that we can discuss. What makes the difference between junior and senior? What are the learnings that we can take away, and some conclusion. So let's jump into it. Yes, the introduction. As there was in the description of this meetup, I work more than 17 years now. I started as a user interface developer, which meant that I dealt with HTML, CSS, and I sort of understand what is going on in the code, but I was never really interested in that part. What I was really interested in is what is happening in the minds of the users. But for such a long time, I thought that I can be constructive if I become a manager. So I have two diplomas in the field of management, and I actually worked in management. I built up teams, and that made me understand the business requirements and the business struggles better. But then, after so many years, I realized that I don't care about business and budget and politics. What I really care still is the user. So that is why I decided to go back and do something about design. So interestingly, I started by building up a completely new design team from scratch. So I was never a junior designer to start with. I started with an interest in design, with a background from management, and I combined these two. And this is where my journey in design actually started. Although I earlier dealt with UI and I used Photoshop, but I do not really consider that as a part of my design journey, because when I actually built up that team from scratch, where we had a content designer, a UX designer, and myself as an imposter, I would say, we actually built up a design system. And that was a very important moment because during those months, I actually learned how to structure the design work, how to interview the stakeholders, how to gather and analyze data. So I basically learned my way up from the ground up. Uh, and that was a very interesting journey to start my development with. So after that, I went to become a simple product designer. And since then, I'm moving up and down on the ladder between simple designer and product design lead and design operations and whatnot. That is why I'm telling you right now that the title in itself doesn't matter. What you are doing when you are doing your job does matter, and how you are doing it does matter. So yes, what else? Besides the pure interest towards design, I also like to share knowledge, but also learn from others, as mentioned before. So I publish articles and I speak on conferences because I strongly believe in the collaboration between developers, designers, and managers and any other stakeholder. And I believe as a designer, one of the most important things, one of the most important property that you can have is a pure interest in the user and in others and empathy. So the growth and learning. Yes, starting a career in UX can be very interesting, can be very challenging, and it's never boring. That is what I can tell you. And yes, we can discuss junior, mid-year, seasoned, senior. All of them have their different challenges and opportunities. And there are, of course, matrices that try to help, for example, evaluation, quarterly evaluation, and that can be a good guideline. I will share it with you. But in general, again, I would emphasize that you should value yourself as a professional. You should be very much aware of where you are. And I know it sounds crazy without a comparison point, but as Johanna mentioned in her talk, if you are willing to learn, and if you are willing to learn within a team, then you will get better and better. And the reason why I'm saying that is that if you have the chance to work in a team, you will, per definition, get feedback on your work. And design reviews and design critiques might be hard to receive because not everybody will be in love with what you're doing. And this is not because they don't like you, this is because they have a different perspective. And this is your chance to actually understand the domain much deeper. So I would rather advise you to embrace the design reviews and the design critiques and learn from them and implement the feedback that you get, not without justification. So write down everything or record everything and then analyze what you got as a feedback. And then if it's constructive, if it makes the product evolve, then you can implement it to your work, iterate it even in low fidelity wireframes of yours. What I'm saying here is that don't fall in love with your design. As a UX/product designer, you are not an artist. What you are doing is an actual practical product that serves the needs of the users. Your job is to make the users happy. Because once the users are happy, then they will engage to the company where you are working. And if they engage, it will mean constant income for the company and thus salary to you. So that is why I'm saying remain practical, don't fall in love with your own design. If you are this artistic type of designer, then have it as a hobby. But when you are doing UX design, keep it simple, keep it practical, and base all your decisions on facts. And that is why teamwork comes into the picture all over again, because designers are strongly dependent on UX researchers and data analysts, because these guys provide us data. And based on this data, we can prioritize the importance of a feature. And once we have the importance of a feature, then we can provide proper strategical advice to the product management, to engineering. And here comes the product trio into the picture. So product management, engineering, and design, these are equal partners when it comes to product delivery. These three depend on each other strongly, but I would like to emphasize the importance of the QA engineers, the support people, because they bring edge cases to the picture as well. So if you are, as a designer, are open-minded enough to understand the relevance and the importance of their insights, then you can implement their feedback to your job, to your work, and then your work can evolve, and thus you can evolve. So what are the opportunities when you're growing? And this is what I would like to share here. This is a part of Figma's product design and writing career levels. And for that, I would like to share this file that I already opened. This is the actual file. It's open source. Figma made it open source. These are the levels that is screenshotted in the presentation. Junior, mid-year, senior, leader, seasoned leader. Basically, this is the translation. And based on strategical aspects, craft design aspects, writing, collaboration, and impact, Figma basically created a matrix. And based on this matrix, you can understand where you are. So if you read these points through, let it be a strategical interest or design, you can have a pretty good understanding where you are right now. And maybe you will realize that you are not even a junior. You are now mid-year, because yes, you can notice overlaps and dependencies, etc. So I would recommend to check this out, because based on that, you can be surprised that you are no longer a junior. Okay, let's move back to the presentation itself. The difference, what makes you a senior? Yes, it's again about expectations and responsibilities. As a junior, you can say that, okay, I don't know nothing. I don't know where to search for a file. I don't know where to start. It's okay to ask, but it's still okay to ask when you're a senior, but it does matter how you ask your question, because your question must have a relevance once you are a senior, and that makes a huge difference. Asking questions make you understand the user, make you understand the domain, and let you have a full picture of what is happening. And once you understand what is happening, then your assumptions will go further, will make the product evolve. So let me give you a brief example. If a junior asks a question, I don't know, why are the buttons blue? It's basically a marketing decision, probably. But a senior question would be, okay, what else can we show by using the color blue? And it's a different aspect, a different perspective, but still has an added value to ask that question. So, problem solving. Senior designers tackle more complex and ambiguous problems, often leading design initiatives and driving innovation. Yes, true, but not true. Because what if a junior comes up with a question that nobody has ever thought of? So I wouldn't go only there. And probably you might know situations when you've been working together with developers and you asked a seemingly dumb question, and then the engineer starts to think and they realize that actually your question makes sense. So anything can happen, and that is the beauty of this. Leadership. Seniors mentor junior designers, guiding them through complex design challenges and fostering their growth. Yes, that is true, but what if a senior designer doesn't really like mentoring? Does that make this person not a senior? What does it make a senior? Is it really mandatory to mentor someone? What if I don't like to teach other people? I can still be an expert in my field, and I can still be a senior. So it's a very interesting aspect to think about, and look into yourself and ask yourself, okay, once I become a senior, because I am there compared to the Figma matrix. Do I really want to mentor other people? Or do I really want to publish articles? It's a choice. It won't make you less of a senior designer if your answers are no. It's just rather the question of honesty towards yourself. And honesty and being genuine is more important than being a leader, for example. Okay, influence. Senior designers are involved in shaping product strategy and ensuring that design aligns with business goals. Yes, sure, but again, what if a junior asks the right questions? So that is why I challenge this senior versus junior thing, because we are all valuable and we can all have our own point of views and perspectives that makes us unique, and that might bring an added value to the whole picture. So I would rather go with designers should be involved in shaping product strategy without the senior. And then finally, stakeholder handling. Designers work closely with stakeholders, ensure the design vision and effectively communicated and executed. Stakeholders, who are them? They are engineers, QA engineers, support people, managers, salespeople, even the customer, or I could see organizations where even the CEO wanted to know what is happening. Stakeholder management is a soft skill, and I do not argue with this point. I only emphasize it that communication is a soft skill that will come handy in whatever path you choose. If you can assertively and nicely communicate with your intentions and your thoughts, and you approach the other person with questions so that they will feel that you want to understand their perspective, it will create an environment of trust. And if the other person, the stakeholder, trusts you as a designer, then they will more likely to open up to you, and they will more likely to share their insights, and thus you can build on it, and you already have a valuable connection with that person so that you can go back. This person can go back to you. This will go vice versa. Bam, you already have a good connection that you can build upon. All right, learnings. As Joanna pointed out, there are multiple ways of learning, and it never ever stops, really, ever. And Joanna also mentioned Figma several times, but I'm pretty sure that there will be other tools as well, and not just Figma. And you might want to be able to know how to handle other tools as well. So it's also a learning opportunity to learn how to use wireframing tools or prototyping tools even. Prototyping is also an emerging thing. It's more and more interesting and popular. So you might want to dive into that. Yes, I won't repeat what Johanna said. She was right. Read books, go to conferences, people. That's it. That's all I can say to you. And I just one thing to add to that. I remember organizing a conference earlier this summer, and there was this girl. She was very, very, very shy, and she is a very good engineer, but she's very shy, and she didn't dare to approach one of our speakers. So one of my co-organizer basically pushed her towards the speaker. Okay, go there and talk. And they finally ended up in having a good coffee and a good discussion. So yes, it's hard, just come out from your comfort zone, but this is actually how you can meet with good people. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that if we were about to meet 5 years before, probably I wouldn't speak here. because I just didn't dare. And the reason how I started to do it is that I realized that if I prepare for a presentation, I start to organize my own thoughts. And if I organize my own thoughts, it starts to make sense. So yay, that is good. So that is why I'm publishing articles and I'm speaking on conferences and meetups, because this makes me evolve. And so you can find your own path. Okay, expanding skills. Learn new methodologies, service design, interaction design, emerging stuff to do, more and more popular, as well as prototyping, and they can provide a different perspective to design, because then you're not just focusing on the wireframes, you're also focusing on, okay, how these two will interact, how will the user interact with what I'm designing. Funny stuff, I just started to work for a robotics company, and the robots, they interact with people in a completely different way. So it's an interesting way to understand, yet again, another perspective. You can explore new stuff. Yes, AI is with us. Don't trust your life with AI, but it's very nice to fool around with it. Especially, for example, I use it for content design. I really, really do not like to do content design, but it can rephrase stuff for me pretty well. And I already learned new words from using this function. So yeah, that's nice to enrich your tool set. And finally, sharing knowledge can foster professional growth. Again, my example, I believe I became a better professional just by talking about my experiences and what I felt important. For example, developer experience. It's a very important thing for me. And I believe you as a designer can help a lot to developers if you are taking care of their needs, and not just help them, but you can also evolve and improve as a professional if you're collaborating with developers closely and taking their insights seriously. So this is a point where you should share your experiences, and we should open up cameras and microphones and have a back and forth discussion, because yes, that would be my perspective, but I believe yours is more important.